And our primary job and opportunity, what we do is we live to service the distribution community. So we provide information to the distribution community, and in turn they provide it to their customers. So I brought a presentation with me that I'll walk you through. So some of this is going to be confusing to some people because it's not really standard business jargon that you would use, in your everyday business activities. But this is very important in terms of the information that we have available on our product registry, and that information would be loaded by you, and then you would then disseminate that out to your clients. So I'll give you a look at who GS1 is and what we do. What is a GTIN or a barcode, or it has a variety of different names and nomenclatures. What the product registry is, the product registry is actually called the ECC Net Registry, or the Electronic Commerce Council Registry. We also have an image and validation service that's oftentimes used by both the retailers, the food service distributors, and the vendor side. So that would be your side. So you would have your products imaged through our systems. Our product recall program that Franco touched on earlier, and then we'll take some time to answer some questions that anyone may have. A remote that I don't recognize? How's that possible?
Just
okay. All right, good. So GS1 Canada is a global organization. We are a not-for-profit company, so it's important to note that. So we do not make a profit on the work that we deliver to either side of the business equation. We are the conduit in which that information flows from you or you as the vendor to your trading partner, and that could be in a variety of different trading partners. So we have 108 member countries, and we do business in more than 150 countries around the world. So essentially, we have captured the entire global trading business, and it's all centered around the same type of criteria that everyone uses, and those are called worldwide standards, and those standards are applicable here because when you talk business language, you all talk the same language. So when you say, I have an apple, and you call it a specific brand of apple or type of apple, everybody's going to know what that is because you're all talking the same language. We have over 1,900 employees across the world and 1 million users, and we account for 5 billion transactions a day. And we also cover 23 different industry sectors, and of course grocery, food service are one of our key sectors that we do cover. So GS1 Canada is headquartered in Toronto. We are a Canadian branch of the global organization, as I said. We have 3 offices here, the main headquarters in Toronto, and then we have our INV office in Montreal, and we have a second INV office in Calgary. We are a not-for-profit financial structure, as I mentioned, so when you're paying your subscriber fees and your costs associated with doing business with GS1, it's cost recovery only, so we don't make a profit from that. So we're also the exclusive provider of a valid GTIN or barcode or UPC code. So there are other providers out there, but for the most part, that GTIN or barcode is owned by another company, somewhere in North America or somewhere in the world. So we serve, in Canada, we have 20,000 subscribers, and they are a combination of various different businesses, service providers, in a variety of different categories. And I put some of the sectors that we have down at the bottom. So we certainly service agriculture, alcohol, food service, general merchandise, and there's a whole subsector of general merchandise that's in there. So there's also hard lines like spatulas and general kitchen merchandise, that sort of stuff. We also service, of course, the grocery retailers, and almost the entirety of the Canadian grocery business is serviced for GS1, and the entirety of the food service business is also serviced by GS1. And as I mentioned, we have hard lines. We also have medical equipment and medical devices, such as if you have your knee replaced, we would track that from the manufacturer's level as it moved through the supply chain and into your leg. Strangely enough. And we also look at health and beauty, or HABA, pharmacy, leisure products, music products, and publishing. So if you have a replacement knee, we know where it is. So the guiding principles of the company are very straightforward. We're not for profit, we're neutral. We do not favor one side or the other side of the trading partner relationship. We don't advocate for the retailer, and we don't advocate for the vendor. We are simply in between the two parties. We are the conduit of the information, and we also are the purveyor of the rules and regulations associated and surrounding and how the trading partners do business. So we're user-driven and user-governed, which means we're governed by a board of directors. That board of directors tells us what we do, what we don't do, and we also have what are called sector boards. The sector boards are food service, general merchandise, hard lines, etc., etc. And anyone can sit on a sector board if you wish. You can sit on. You can fill out the online request on the mygs1.ca website, and you can sit on a sector board and have your voice be heard. Because when there's a decision made at a sector board level, that flows out to everyone. And those decisions are very key and can have a huge impact on your business. So we're the voice of the industry when developing standards, and I'll touch on that in just a little bit. And we also enable the industry to adopt those standards. So we help industry, once those standards are adopted, we then help the industry implement those and roll those out to the broader area of the various different categories. And we derive success when the industry is successful. So again, we're as a not-for-profit company, we live to service the industry in general, and when you're successful, we class us as being successful as well. So these are the services that we provide. We provide a company prefix or a barcode. We have the ECCNet product registry, which is, you can refer to it as the product registry. We have the ECCNet image and validation, so I've shortened that down to INV. So when you say INV in the nomenclature of GS1, everybody in the industry will know what INV means. And the product recall portal, which enables your communication with your various different trading partners, right down to the specific partner at the specific GTIN code and the specific lot code. So it'll allow you to track that all the way through the supply chain. And then we have a number of other roles that I'll look at later on, but primarily those 4 roles right there are what GS1 does in a nutshell. And it's some people look at it as complicated, but once you understand how the procedures work internally, it's actually very easy to do. Everything, all the business that you do with GS1 is available in the cloud. You don't have to download any software. You don't have to put anything on your computer, your laptop. You can dial in anywhere with your exclusive username and password, and you don't have to use anything else other than what's readily available on the GS1 website. So this is a quick look at what our roles are. We really have 4 roles. We build community. So in other words, we would gather the community or the interested parties together, such as produce manufacturers, for example, or food service distributors, and we would then begin to build a consensus and develop standards with those people. We would educate the community on a broader level, and then we would help those various different trading partners implement that or roll that out. So this is a quick look at the protocols. It's just an identification of what business protocols are. They're basically agreements between trading partners that you agree to do this, I agree to do that. Those are classed as protocols. And that is how your business relationship would work with your trading partners. You know, we also look at a variety of other protocols such as business improvements. But for us to be able to implement something, it can't be one-sided. It has to be beneficial to both you and your trading partner. GS1 will not allow implementation of a one-sided business agreement when it comes to standards, because standards are used by everyone. That's the reason for standards. And if they're used by everyone, they have to be beneficial to all the trading partners that are in the relationship. And we also work in developing standards through our sector board, and we help implement those. So those are an example of UPC ownership is a good example. Product recall is a great example. Imaging services, etc. Those are all standard protocols and all types of jargon or nomenclature that GS1 uses. So I'll give you a quick look at what a GS1 is. A GTIN is essentially a symbolic code that represents you as the owner of that code, and represent your product as a subsector of that code or a sub piece of information on that. So on one side you have, if you were looking at a prefix or a barcode or a GTIN or whatever you wanted to classify it as, you would have a series of numbers here which would belong to you. Those would be yours, and those would be, you would get through GS1, and then you'd have a series of secondary numbers, and they come together and they represent that product right down to the manufacturer, right down to the product, and there's no other number like that in the world. That particular number identifies that particular company and identifies that particular product. No other company would have that. So the GTIN, GTIN is what a UPC or barcode used to be. UPC and barcode were designed to work specifically within North America when they first rolled out 40 years ago. But now they've evolved into a bigger thing. Now it's a global item. So the GTIN stands for Global Trade Item Number. So again, as I mentioned already, that GTIN belongs to you specifically, and no one else would have that.
So does everyone know what a barcode is? You've seen it on packaging and you can scan.
An apple.
There's a good example of a barcode right there. See at the bottom? That's a barcode or a GTIN. It has a prefix on the front, it has identifying numbers at the back end, and then it has a conclusion number or end barcode number at the bottom. So that every time you walk through a grocery store, you're looking at the work of GS1. Every item that you see that has a GTIN or a barcode on it, that GTIN or barcode is used and is provided by GS1. So these are some of the uses that GTINs can be used for. They can track inbound stock and the reception of the same. So oftentimes, for example, if you were doing business with Walmart and you wanted to ship in 10 cases or a skid of product, the process of that product as it moved through the supply chain will be recorded through the use of a GTIN. And every time that product moves, the GTIN is scanned and it records the transaction of that as it moves through the supply chain. It also allows you to for the movement of stock from farm to warehouse, increases POS sale activity, so your client can understand the volumes that you're turning, what you're selling to them by the ring at the front. And then it monitors the current inventory and tracks trends. So you can use your information on a GTIN to see, well, last year at this time, strawberries spiked. And it was June. Well, everybody knows why they spiked in June. But you can anticipate that by using a GTIN. And you can see where your information or your sales spiked for a particular reason. And you can anticipate that and build out your production, build out your service, build out your available stock and inventory to meet that demand. Some of the benefits, of course, as I mentioned, greater inventory and control accuracy, fewer errors and faster movement of business. Simplifies the process order, and then it tracks and traces your product through the supply chain. So this is what looks to be a complex sheet, but it's not really. What it is, it denotes the hierarchy of a product. And what I mean by hierarchy, many products have multiple different phases of packaging. For example, if you look at a case and you were to receive a case of apples, for example, those apples sometimes are packed in a loose format, sometimes they're packed in a bag, sometimes they're packed in sub-packs, and the GTIN allows them to be identified in what's called the GTIN hierarchy. So it's the inner pack, the case pack, the master pack, and the skid pack or the pallet config. So those are all ways of identifying. They're not applicable to everything, but those are the ways that we can identify the product. And each one of those have their own GTIN number, so each one of those have a way of being identified as they move through the supply chain. So the ECCNet product registry, that's the meat and potatoes of what GS1 does. So I'll give you a quick down and dirty version of what this looks like. If you can picture your business relationship with your client in three particular parts. There's you, or the vendor, on one side. There's the ECCNet product registry in the middle. You, the vendor, would load your information into that product registry, and then that information would flow out to what's called a data recipient. That data recipient would be Cisco, and GFS, and Flanagan's, and Colabar, and the various other food service distributors in Canada. It could also be Loblaws, and Sobeys, and Metro, and Walmart, and all the other grocery retailers in Canada as well. So oftentimes those companies have it listed as a term of trade. If you want to do business with them, you'll have to load your information into the product registry, but there's There's a variety of different ways for you to tackle that. It's not as arduous as you might think. But it just, so if you can think of that three parts, the vendor, ECCNet product registry, and then your customer on the other side. Just think in those terms, and that will be very easy to digest this information.
Can I just ask you something?
I beg your pardon?
When you load your data into that repository,
I'm sorry, ma'am?
as a producer, when you load your data and your products into the product registry, does that automatically flow to all those people without you sending it to them?
Because the information in the ECCNet registry is brand owner owned, we as GS1 do not own the information in the product registry. You as the brand owner own that information. So inside the product registry, there's a way of determining exactly who that information will flow to, right down to the specific customer by specific GTIN as well. So you can say, I want to sell this product to this company, and I want to sell that product to that company. It's as far down and as detailed as that. So again, the ECCNet registry or the product registry is the online registry where there's products in there. It enables data synchronization, or once you load it in, you don't have to flow it into your trading partners. Sometimes, depending on the type of service that you use from GS1, it can automatically flow for you. But you, as the brand owner, always determine where that product information goes. The consumer on the other end, which is your trading partner or Walmart or whomever, they do not determine where that product information goes. That belongs to you, and you determine where that goes. So there's more than 50 plus data recipients in Canada that are now receiving information through the ECCNet registry. There's over 650,000 GTINs in there. And actually that's a little older. There's upwards to 1 million now. And there's 2,500 suppliers that are engaged. So essentially the entire retail community, grocery community, and food service community are almost fully engaged. With grocery, we're at about 98% market penetration. And with food service, we're about 93, 94%. So basically almost the entirety, as I mentioned earlier. So this is, again, a rather complex slide, and it's difficult to understand, but if you can think of the ECCNet product registry, which is GS1 in the middle, you or the supplier on the left-hand side, and your customer on the right-hand side. So there's a variety of different ways that you can load product information into the registry, including what's called a mass upload tool, where you can set up a spreadsheet. You can enter all the information in it and then press click, and it'll automatically upload because it's already pre-mapped to the ECCNet registry. So when I say that, I mean, if you say it's an apple, well, it's going to be loaded into the registry as an apple. And if it has a weight of, say, 70 grams, it's going to be loaded into the registry as 70 grams and then you can control and manage that on a particular sheet, which is kind of cool. Because you don't have to go back into the registry and load one item, then go back out again and load another item. There's a mass upload tool that's coming in the next 2 months, so it's completed. The work is essentially completed on that. And then you can also, if you can see there, that's a lot of market business jargon that's really not relevant to you, but there's ways of searching for information. And once you're inside the registry, you can search by name, by trading partner, by GTIN number, by type of product, by weight of product, by color of product. You can do so many different ways of tackling that information. So what does GS1 do to ensure the integrity of the data? So, you know the old saying, garbage in, garbage out? If you don't have good quality data going in there, going out the other end, it's not going to be any good because it's wrong. So we do a variety of different things that we try to enhance the integrity of that data. And really, if you want your trading partner to do business with you and you want them to call a product and what you're doing, then speaking the same language helps tremendously. Because you all know what you're saying to each other, and there's no ambiguity in there. So we help educate, we develop process reviews and business reviews. We communicate to the industry, so we would be communicating to you on changes in what's coming to the registry, new attributes that may be required in the future, changes in how we do business as a company. We also have this little ditty down in the corner, GTIN discrepancy report. That's a very interesting little tool. That tool comes from your trading partner, and they say to you, hey, Mr. Vendor, you have a wrong number here. So we watch that, GS1 watches that, and we follow that through the system. And it's up to you as the vendor to remedy that GDR or GTIN discrepancy. And oftentimes your trading partner can have consequences related to not remedying a GTIN, or a GDR I should say. It could be as little as a letter of warning, it could be as much as a fine that comes from your trading partners. And you don't want to get into that, because remedying those GTINs or GDR reports it's a very easy thing to do. It will probably take you five minutes to remedy it, and if you got 2 or 3 a year, it's not a big deal. But the thing is that if you fix the GDR report in one vendor, you fix it with everybody, so you don't have to fix it multiple different times. It's a one-to-many trading scenario. So you fill out the registry once, you can then trade with everyone. We also look at image, item and case dimensions. We conduct industry audits, so we would audit you and your trading partner, so we don't just audit you, we also audit them. We do that every 12 months. And then we have continuing technological advancements, and those are updated depending on what we're updating. It could be anywhere from once a year to 6 times a year, where we upgrade the technology in the ECCNet registry. So the image and validation service is used by, that's not everyone.
This is an image.
Yeah, there's some, the dairy farmers of Ontario Canada should be up there, and a whole bunch of food service distributors should be down there. I don't know why that's not coming up. Anyway, basically the entire food service distribution community uses the image and validation service, and that's certainly not everyone, but there are thousands of different vendors that use the IMV service in Montreal, and thousands of different recipients of that data as well. So that's, for some reason, that's not coming up, but I don't know why, but it isn't. This is what the ECCNet database, the IMV database looks like right now. We have more than 100,000 products in the database right now, including planogram images. Is anybody familiar with the term planogramming? Just a quick synopsis of what planogramming is. When a retailer is planning out their store and how they want to look, they do what's called planogramming. They'll physically put together a store like Loblaws, for example, has a 150,000 square foot warehouse up there, and all they do is build out new stores in there. And they physically will take either product and put it in place and see what it looks like, or more oftentimes they'll use planogramming software, take the images from the database and plug them right in, and they'll give a look at what a shelf looks like this, and they use the planogramming images. So we provide them for them, and we take your images that we've shot, put it in the planogram database, and then they pull them and populate that planogramming software.
And in food service, it's used for case dimensions. So Cisco and all the big warehouse companies that have automated systems, it'll actually, when you register with them, they put all the case size dimensions into a software program, and then that software program tells them where to put it in their warehouse, so that when they're packing their skids, you know, imagine they're picking products and they're putting 50 or 100 different products into one skid. They're all different. It's like a Tetris game. Well, this will actually calculate where to put it on the skid for them. So it goes with where they're going, what truck it's getting on. Like, it's very all automatically calculated to make it easy for them to then pull the product off to make sure that the right customer gets your product at the end of the day. So it's all done to kind of automated systems, and it's really amazing. When you go visit a warehouse, we should actually almost go visit someone like GFS
right down the street.
And if anyone wants to do a tour, I'd be happy to arrange to show you how that works. To see it work is amazing. And it all works with codes, and everything's done by scanning. So that barcode scanned at every step along the way to make sure. And that's why companies like Cisco and GFS could ship 75,000 products a night and have less than 1% error rate because of these systems and software that are in place. But it all relies on good data.
Exactly, yeah. So there's 50,000 marketing images in our database. Those are high resolution, 300 DPI images that you can use for your advertising, or your website, or your flyer development, or put it on a mobile app, or there's a variety of different uses for the images. And then we also have more than 20,000 food service image montages, and I'll show you what a montage looks like. We have more than 1,800 vendors that are actively participating now. So it's hit critical mass now, and essentially the entire community now uses all the images that are in the IMV registry. So as Franco touched on, that's what a montage looks like. So I use these bean sprouts, lettuce, and lima beans. I don't know why, but I did. So if you know that Cisco and GFS have salespeople on the road, and they have what are called PIC cards, PIC cards, product information cards. Well, they take the information from here, and they use those images that we provided, and they put them on their PIC cards. So when the salespeople go to sell your product, their PIC cards have to be up to date, and they use the images from there, and that's what it looks like. So now, this particular case, in some cases there could be a third image. So it's the case, it's the inner, and the each. But in these particular cases, we don't need an each, because the lima beans come in a bulk format, the way you see there. So the product recall program is designed to be, again, communicating with a one-to-many scenario. So you enter in the information just the one time, it flows out to your trading partner, and again, you can bring it down to the exact trading partner, not to everybody's in. So if you have a product recall on specific items, you don't want to alert the entire community that you have a product recall. You want to be able to alert just the people that have received that product, and not tell everybody, well, there's a recall on some of my products. That's a big loss for you, but if you can pin it down to specific products and trading partners, you can limit that loss. And the product recall portal will allow you to do that. So it's standardized forms and processes, it's secure. It's also, it interfaces with the product registry. So if you have your own GTIN, punch that GTIN number in, and it'll populate all the information automatically for you. You don't have to do it. And then you can then flow it out to exact trading partners, whomever they are, because your track and trace program internally will allow you to do that. And again, it's based on global standards, and it aligns with all existing and future CFIA regulations. So the government of Canada has looked at this. They've agreed that it aligns with all the existing legislation. So, and it's also fully track and traceable. It's printable. It's retained inside the registry. You don't have to print it off. You don't have to hold it anywhere. We'll hold it for you, and you can retrieve it anytime you want to. And again, it supports the end-to-end audit trail too, which is very important for you, because if you do have a product recall, the CFIA is going to ask you, how have you tracked this product? And if you're able to use this product recall portal and track the information as it flows out, you'll have already covered any type of legal liability that you may have experienced. You may experience in the future. So here are the benefits for the growers and the farmers, and here are the benefits to the retailers. So the retailers already use the system. So instead of filling out 20 different proprietary forms, you could fill out one. And instead of trying to send it off on a Friday afternoon or a long weekend, which is when most recall happens, you can send it off sitting in your cottage with your tablet in front of you, because it's all cloud-based. Two-way messaging, so you can, when you send the information to your trading partner, you can ask for an acknowledgement, and they're forced to acknowledge it back to you, because they can't open it and view it without sending an acknowledgement back to you that they've received it. So, and again, all that is captured inside the product recall portal, so you don't have to do any of the work yourself. It does it all for you. It's all retained, all the dates, the times, the lot codes, the product codes, the GTIN numbers, who you spoke with, when you spoke with them, and it all traces it all back, all done electronically, and you can communicate inside the portal with all your trading partners. So you don't have to go outside and send an email. Yes, sir.
So does it also allow you to track what product codes that distributor marks it as? So for instance, if I have, let's say I have my product listed with Cisco, Gordon's, and Summit, each of them have their own product numbers. Will my corresponding GTIN tell me that Cisco's code is 3241, GFS's doesn't do that?
No, but what you can do though is there are free-form text options available in here, and you can then enter that information, because Cisco will tell you they're more than happy to help in a recall.
Yeah.
Cisco will tell you if their product number is different from yours. They'll tell you it's product number 44477. You can enter it into the free-form text area, and that will communicate out to your trading partners as well. And then for the retailer, it's really a no-brainer, or the food service distributor. For them, it's so much easier than handling a fax coming in, or an email coming in, or something along that line. It's just, and it's so easy to track and trace it that when this was introduced a couple of years ago, the retailers really jumped on board, and the vendors, your end of the business, really understood the value associated with it, and being able to track that information so quickly, so easily, and communicate with your trading partner, it's really very, very easy to operate. That's what it looks like. Your manufacturer initiates the recall, goes into the recall portal, and communicates out to the retailer, or the food service distributor, or whomever your clients are. And it was implemented in 2012, so it's fully supported now. So almost all your trading partners now would be supporting this. There's more than 1,300 subscribers, 1,290 different companies, your unique companies, and 2,600 users in the system. So there's quite a large number of people using it now. That's all for me.